All right, guys, back here on Southeastern 14 with Max Barr. We continue a look at transfers in SEC basketball. We are, only a couple days after the Elite Eight. Final Four still to be played, but there are a lot of guys coming and going in the SEC, and so we, as we will do all off season, we'll look at the guys on the way in, and two in particular we're going to talk about here in a second. Pickups for LSU and Mississippi State. Before we get there, let's tell you as always about our friends at Bet Online. The tournament continues, as you know, and they have odds, lines, info on every game for every round, right up until the national championship game next week. So you can access the most up-to-the-minute wagering information anytime for your desktop or mobile devices if you head on over to Bet Online today and get in on all the action. Remember, use that promo code we tell you about, BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit there. That's a nice welcome bonus for them. And BetOnline is where the game starts. So, all right, Max, let's start with Cam Carter heading to LSU from Kansas State, as you see there on the screen. Where do you know? He's from Louisiana, and we'll talk about that theme in a second. Matt McMahon's definitely leaned into that in building the roster the past couple seasons. Averaged 14.6 points, 5 rebounds, 2.6 assists per game this past season at Kansas State. And Max, initial thoughts on another native coming back to their home university here on the Bayou for LSU.
That's the story right here. That is the main story. McMahon is recruiting Louisiana. He's got a mission. He wants to keep the talent in state, and he's been doing a pretty good job at it. Carter didn't even visit anywhere else. It was LSU from the jump. Last year, listen to this. Jordan Wright in from Vandy, Louisiana. Hunter Dean, Jalen Cook, Carlos Stewart, all the transfers, all from Louisiana. And right back to the well here with Cam Carter. Diving into Cam Carter just a little bit, we'll link some highlight videos down in the description because I love looking at them. They're only about 4 or 5 minutes long. You get a good idea of what the player plays like. Defense. Blake, talk to us a little bit about Cam Carter here and how he plays.
Well, I mean, look, I think I'll let you carry the numbers and the stats, but I think what's interesting about LSU is the one thing we talked about from last year to this year was they made significant improvements, like both offensively and defensively, and I think that was what was really important. Is you saw a clear understanding where Matt McMahon went out and not only brought in guys that were going to help them scoring wise, but guys that would help them improve defensively, and it paid off. They go from being 2-16 in the SEC, 2 seasons ago. This year they go 9-9, so they get to 500, make a huge jump, finish with a winning record, 17-16. And so I think, there was a clear understanding that, all right, this worked, going out and getting guys who can defend. And so, like you said, you look at someone like this who kind of can do a lot of different stuff. Certainly the scoring numbers. I mean, if you're joining the SEC, you pretty much understand guys are going to have good scoring numbers. But if you dive a little bit deeper and understand, like, these guys have to play certain roles on these teams. And like you said, I think it's very clear. You're bringing in a guy like this that's got some size at the guard position. We know how good the guards are in this league. And so, yeah, like that's what immediately stands out to me is like Matt McMahon realized, hey, we had to get so much better defensively, and they did. And now this is another step to where, all right, we were top 100 defense this past year. Can we be a top 50 type defense this year? If so, then you're talking, NCAA tournament type team. So.
Exactly. You just got to keep making that jump. And you're losing physicality at the guard spot. You're losing Trey Hannibal, losing Jordan Wright. You're losing some of your physicality at the guard spot. And that's what you're getting back here with Cam Carter. Jumping into a little bit of the nerdy numbers just to kind of give you a kind of a picture of how he plays. So Evan Mia, I say Maya every time, does some things, player ratings. Does an offensive box score or BPR rating, offensive rating and defensive rating. Just call it that. So his offensive rating, 0.82, and his defensive rating was 2.27. Now, I'll give you some context on how to compare that. The defensive rating of 2.27 led Kansas State last year. So analytically rated the best on Kansas State. And for context, LSU's highest defensive ratings this past year, you guessed it, Jordan Wright, one of the oldest guys, and Derek Fountain. Now, Wright's was at 1.76, Fountain 1.52. To to Carter's 2.27. So you're getting a really good defender. You're getting a physical veteran perimeter defender. And he's improved his shot year by year by year. I like to look at that. How have they improved? Freshman year at Mississippi State, he's behind Iverson Molinar. Can't get much playing time. Only about 8 minutes a game. Doesn't put much up on the stat sheet that you can take away. Jerome Tang gets hired at Kansas State, goes there, plays a nice role, about 25 minutes a game. Went 18 of 51 from three, so not quite a three a game, but still, if he was open, he was a 35% shooter, could make an open shot. Kind of helps when you have Marquise Noel dishing you the rock, probably the best assist man last 2 years ago. And then this past year, huge jump, 30 of 93 from three, a little bit lower, 32.3%, but almost doubles his total makes, 35 minutes a game. Has a little bit of a turnover issue, but I don't think he's going to be, kind of asked to do as much with the ball in his hands at LSU than as he was at Kansas State. So all in all, you're getting a great defender, if nothing else.
Yeah, LSU did have a problem, as we talked about all year, with kind of turnovers. But again, I don't know if he'll be relied upon to do
Right.
that much to the point to where he's contributing significantly to that number. So, yeah, I think, like you said, defense is the name of the game here, and you're looking at someone that, percentages offensively can certainly go up. But again, it's all about kind of the fit and the system and the style that you play, and
he'll have a role. He'll have a defined
he'll have a
role.
Yeah, that's what's important. And as we said, another Louisiana native making his way back to Baton Rouge there for Matt McMahon. So Cam Carter is on the roster. Who else will be on the roster, as we say in all these videos? Who knows? But for now, we know Cam Carter joining LSU. All right, let's get to Mississippi State, which made an addition here. Kanye Clary joining from Penn State. So that's someone else coming from, this isn't the LSU route here where he's actually from Virginia Beach. He's not from the state of Mississippi, but, he's someone that's interesting because you talk about scoring-wise, like he's averaging basically 17 a game last year at Penn State on a pretty decent percentage. Like he shot 46% from the floor, which, again, you'll take that. That's pretty good numbers there. And so I think he's someone that, once again, you look at kind of what Jans likes from his teams and what guys can do well. This seems to be sort of a fit. Although, as we said, it was, we're wondering, hey, now they're going to have Josh Hubbard back. He officially said he's returning. Cam Matthews is back, as we know, on this team. So you add Clary to the mix. That gives them another, a point guard guy here, 5'11". But, hey, they've got some interesting options now to work with in terms of, how they approach this with Clary and Hubbard in the backcourt.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. That's probably my number one thing right now that I'm interested about Mississippi State is how is Jans going to play Clary, or is he going to play Clary and Hubbard together at the same time? Is it going to be a little 1-2 punch, undersized, but you'll get plenty of offensive explosion out of them? Or is it going to be kind of like Hubbard plays 60% of the minutes at the point guard and Clary plays more like 40, and then sometimes they'll put them in together? I'm interested to see how it'll work out, especially because they both play very similar. Clary's a high-volume guy. This past year, he was 5th in Big Ten play in usage rate and shot rate, 5th in both. So he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And the main thing that I like from Clary when I was looking at his numbers was he got a lot better his freshman year to sophomore year. There was a big jump just in his ball handling, his decision making. He was not making as many turnovers. I think I actually have the numbers here. So his freshman year, just over 10 minutes a game. He's playing behind Jalen Pickett. So you got to remember Pickett, and PTSD for one fan base. So his assist rate and turnover rate his freshman year was 12.6 assist rate and then 16.4% turnover rate. Not the best. This past year, sophomore year, 22% assist rate, 13% turnover rate. So his assist rate goes up 9.4% and his turnover rate goes down 3.4%. That is exactly what you want to see. Hopefully that just gets even better as he gets another year older here, Blake.
Yeah, it's a different system too. I think that's what's interesting. Mike Rhodes took over at Penn State for Shrewsbury, and They played a pretty up-tempo style there. Now you go to Mississippi State, where, as we said, we're kind of used to seeing them more of that, kind of grind you out in the half court type game. But they can go now with Hubbard and Clary. So I think that's what's interesting too. We see Mississippi State kind of maybe change some things offensively, even though Jan's pretty much his entire career has played, not slow tempo necessarily, but just, again, they've kind of worked in the half court, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what it's all about. But as we said, you got two guys now, 5'10", 5'11",
Yeah.
with speed and ball handling ability, gives you some options in terms of maybe how you use the fast break and those kind of things too, and how they play. So, so I think he's interesting. I mean, really, we said it. I mean, the numbers significantly improved pretty much everywhere. I mean, he goes from playing
He got a lot better.
basically 20 more minutes a game, and yet he only had 43 turnovers for the entire year, which is pretty good when you think about that. You're playing 20 more minutes a game than you did previously, but he had 22 more turnovers. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty good from season to season to only have that uptick with that. So yeah, I just want to see these two guys. I mean, they will be smaller if they're playing these two guys together, but also we talk about depth too is needed in the SEC, where it is a very physical guard league, and you may get some fouls, you may get injuries, this kind of stuff. Like, this is where having two guys like this that can play a similar style, I think really helps. And as we say too, remember, we can only judge what we see right now. We know, as we mentioned, Hubbard's coming back, Matthews coming back. So we're kind of seeing the roster continue to form here, and we can't fully just tell you, hey, he's going to play this, role, that role, but all we can give you is kind of what kind of player he is, because it really also depends on, well, who are the other guards that are building around him and all those things if they do that via the transfer portal. So,
yeah, and one note I want to make sure that we say is it's pretty important. So obviously Josh Hubbard 108 made threes. The next highest on the team was Rams Davis with 32. So Jans needed more scoring. You needed more punch. And this is the cool part here. So Rams Davis 33.3%, Jeffries 27.8, Shaq Moore 36.2, Hubbard 35.5. Clary's up at 37.7.
yeah.
So right now, Clary is the number one shooter percentage-wise on Mississippi State. So
On a team that needs to keep getting better from three. They got better last year, but they need to keep going in that direction.
So last year, in Jans's first year, they finished with an offensive efficiency ranked 176th in the nation, and they were the worst three-point shooting team in the whole country. Now fast forward to this year, top 70 offense, and you jump up 100 spots in three-point percentage. Well, he wants to jump up 100 more this year, and he's off to a good start here. So I like the move. It's going to be interesting if they can play the two 5'10", 5'11" guards together. Could probably make some defensive mismatches, but you got to give and take when you're adding offense. You can't have everything. So I like it.
Remember, there was a time there, I think, at some point earlier in the season, when Mississippi State's their 3-point numbers were still not bad. Like, we were like, oh man, they're shooting the ball well, and it's the first two games, right? they went 10 of 26 and 13 of 39. And we're thinking, oh man, they're like top 10 in the country at that point, or whatever. It probably wasn't that high, but we're wondering if it's going to pan out that way, but it didn't. And yeah, so I think that's clearly a missing element that he can help them with. And what I like too is he's power conference to power conference transfer. And I think that helps too, because sometimes when you're guessing on whether guys come from low major, mid major, and their 3-point percentages, he's used to seeing physical defenses and the way they guard. So I think that may help too, kind of keep that number a little bit closer to where it needs to be, even if it's not like 37% or whatever.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Before we wrap up, one more thing. I know there's going to be a lot of Mississippi State fans that say, what happened with him? He left early. They didn't know what happened. So I don't think it was, and this is about 90% sure, not 100%. I don't think he was dismissed for bad locker room, bad relationship with the staff or players. I'm almost 100% sure it was academic, because the great Trilly Donovan tweeted right after that he got dismissed. He put out a tweet: "There's currently no bigger rivalry in sports than Big Ten little guards in the classroom." So I don't think it's a character issue. It's not a discipline issue. I just think there was something with credits academically, grades, something that didn't allow him to play. It was not a character issue. So that's significant if you were worrying about that.
We break it all down here. We give you all sides of stuff and try to let you know what you're getting with transfers coming into the SEC. And as we said, we're going to do this for every player that makes their way into the SEC. We know there's some others that have already committed. We'll get to them in future videos. We'll kind of some of these will be combined like this one. Some we'll do in solo videos. But hey, we'll have it all covered here at Southeastern 14. So hit that subscribe button. We'll be again covering SEC basketball all off season. The team's still playing in the Final Four, Alabama, of course. And SEC football stuff starting to crank up. We'll have a lot more of that here on the channel, SEC baseball. So, as always, we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you again here soon at Southeastern.